So I'm here with my friend Angel. We've talked actually many times, and my friend Dan is in the view. You're in the view over there. And Angel and I have talked many times. He's an HCC. No. And it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You're a student.
Matter.
Okay.
I am a student, yes.
And we've talked about moral relativism and things like that. Okay. What are some religious topics we can talk about?
Ooh. I would like to bring up again.
By the way, Dan is a professional apologist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know about professional, but I don't get paid.
As professional as you can get.
I would hope to be a polished apologist, but yeah.
He studied the issues a lot, so
Yeah.
you might have some issues that he might know more about than me for sure.
Ooh.
Okay.
Might I inquire as to the denomination?
I'm Presbyterian, but
Oh,
I wouldn't
say you adhere particularly closely.
Well, I do, but it's immaterial to faith and salvation and who is God and is he the God of the Bible and.
Well, I find that
foundational stuff.
I find that it actually is quite important to understand what perspective an apologist is coming from, right? Because the arguments used by, say, like a Catholic apologetics or an Orthodox one
Sure.
would be quite different from a Protestant. And even then, within Protestantism, there would be like slightly different variations in their defenses.
Do you mind telling me a little bit about yourself before we really get started? How old are you?
I am 16.
16.
Yes.
Wow, you're that young?
Wow.
Yes.
And you already know what moral relativism is?
Yes.
Good for you. Awesome. Okay, I'm assuming you go to classes.
Yes,
at
I
HCC?
just got out of.
Okay, so
US
so basically you're taking like a dual credit type
Correct.
of stuff. Both of my sons did as well. So good for you. Congratulations. I'm assuming you live at home with your mom and dad.
Correct.
Awesome. You have brothers and sisters.
I have one little gremlin I'm forced to call a sister.
That's okay. That's perfect. That's a perfect description. All right. So what? I mean, if you were, there's lots of ways to come at how this whole God thing. And what anything in particular strike you as interesting to talk about? I don't want to necessarily.
Well, I guess I want to see your approach to this. Given the context that I was raised Catholic but left the faith, let's say about 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
How would you go about reintroducing the topic of God to me?
Okay. It's really about I would call it understanding the invisible spiritual reality that we find ourselves in, that the Bible is trying to tell us about.
Okay.
And first and foremost, there's a verse in Hebrews 11 something or other about he would please God, must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who seek him. First and foremost, I would say we have to be confident and have good foundational reasons to say that there is a God, which is basically what Hebrews 11 is saying. Do you have any thoughts on foundational reasons to believe that there is a God?
Do you have any reasons to believe any foundational reasons to believe there's a God?
Yeah. Anything that you can point to specifically?
Personally, I can't think of anything.
Okay, great. Well, not great, but okay.
Do you have any reasons to believe there's not a God?
That would be proving a negative, which is like...
You can prove a negative.
You can?
Or at least you can argue for it. You don't necessarily have to prove it. But
Is it raining right now?
It is in fact not raining.
Is that a negative?
There is
It's not raining.
Okay. And this has been a real big deal for me. A number of years ago, do you like science stuff at all? Are you sort of a little bit of a sciencey nerd?
I tinker with it once in a while.
Well, do you have any thoughts of future, life plans, engineer, accountant, construction guy, or
political science.
Okay, a lawyer.
Lawyer, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, a lawyer. Basically, lawyers are basically arguing from a point of evidence. Hopefully, okay. Ideally, they're arguing from a point of evidence, and so. And I grew up, I'll fully admit, I became a Christian. I became a believer when I was in my teenage years. And I just had some older students that I looked up to say, hey, being a Christian is a great thing. And I thought, well, I know I need help with my life. Lord, please be in charge of my life because I need help to sort things out. Okay. not a whole lot of into it than that. Okay, and then I ended up reading the Bible and went from there. Hey, come on up. Anyway, a number of years ago, I ended up watching. I'm an engineer by background. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I ended up watching this documentary on the History Channel called "How the Earth Was Made," and it's 2 hour long. And this is it's in 2007, and it starts showing the development of the Earth over the billions of years or whatever. Okay, and the amazing thing that I came to notice in it is that after watching it half a dozen times, I came to realize that the sequence that they were showing in there basically matched the sequence of the development of the Earth that the Bible gave in Genesis 1, which I was stunned by. It talked about the Earth being covered in water. It talked about this, crazy atmosphere that blocked out sun and stuff. And then the land rising from the oceans. And then you get stuff growing on the land. You get this photosynthesis going on. And that ends up clearing the air so that the sun, moon, and stars could be seen for the first time from the surface.
Is this convincing you?
It just seems anecdotal at the moment.
Okay, but it's anecdotal. Okay, but then what ends up happening is that there's no way, I realize there's absolutely no way the Bible could get this right on the development of the Earth. And oh, by the way, the Bible says that the universe was created from nothing, which is what science has figured out. Okay, have you heard of the Big Bang? You've heard of the phrase the Big Bang?
Yes, I've heard of the Big Bang.
It's ultimately the creation of the universe from nothing. That's what it is. It's space, time, matter, and energy. And so these end up being hard points of evidence.
I feel like that's a fundamentally dishonest interpretation of the Big Bang.
Why is that?
Well, the first law of thermodynamics is
matter. Okay,
matter cannot be created nor destroyed.
No, you're exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, perfect. Okay, the oldest argument that has been postulated for the existence of God, this was by Aristotle. Okay, but I think it was older than that. Was that if the universe was created from nothing, there has to be a creator God because you can't get something from nothing. Correct. Basically, the first law of thermodynamics, just like you said, it breaks the laws of thermodynamics. And that is the reality. And yet, if you'll do some research on it and whatnot, you will find out that really that when they go all the way back, they're really coming back to what's called a singularity at the very beginning. And that singularity is basically nothing. There is no space, no time. There is a beginning to time itself, which is mind-blowing. Okay, the fact that something came from nothing is a miracle.
Well, again, it's not necessarily that something came from nothing, right? It is an infinitely small, infinitely dense point at which there is energy.
It's basically nothing. It's basically do some.
It is very much something if it exists.
No. You went down to nothing, and then it came out of literally nowhere, and whatnot. So between that and then the Bible getting the development of the Earth correct, these are things that to me and to my kids actually gave me confidence that wow, there really is a God, and it really has to be the God of the Bible, okay? Because there's no way the Bible gets this right otherwise. None of the Eastern religions talk about the universe being created from nothing. They talk about it being continuous and Earth and planets were all made from existing stuff and whatnot.
Wait, I think he's given us what we need. He just agreed that there was something, right? You agree the beginning point of the Big Bang is something, right?
Correct.
Okay, where did that come from? How long did it last in that way?
Since it was before time, you can't exactly measure it relative to time.
Okay, so you would say that time did come into being?
Time came into being upon the expansion of the Big Bang, right? Because
so you would say like there's a relationship between time, matter, space, and energy.
Yes.
Okay, so would you say then that it has always been?
You could say that.
Well, I thought you just said it came into being. I thought you just said time began when.
I can't say I'm particularly well versed in yes.
And at age 16, I wouldn't expect you to be. Let me ask you: Are you familiar at all? You obviously you know the first law of thermodynamics. Do you know the second law? Entropy.
I can't. Oh, entropy. I can't recall it off the top.
Okay, basically, entropy says that everything runs down. Ultimately, it's why a engine can never be 100% thermally efficient. It's why your room gets dirty all by itself, seeming like. Okay.
I know that all too well.
and so. The problem with the whole thing, okay, it was a singular, and it just existed infinitely long before that. the problem ends up being entropy, because entropy would have caused it to run down and decay. And ultimately, that's what's going to happen to our universe, is that it runs down and decays. So our universe is not eternal. Just
Are you familiar with the concept of an infinite regress?
Yes, I am actually.
Do you think it's possible?
I think it is, yes.
Do you think an infinite regress is physically and philosophically possible, or both?
Philosophically.
Philosophically impossible. Okay.
Impossible. I said it. Oh, my bad.
Wait. Okay. Is an infinite regress physically possible?
Physically possible.
Yeah. Yes or no?
I am unaware of any proofs for or against it.
Well, of course there can't be any proofs for it because it's infinite. Okay. Is it philosophically possible?
More than likely, yes.
It's unlikely?
More than likely, yes.
More than likely, it is yes.
Yes.
Okay. Could you give an example of an infinite regress? All I'll say is this. I became convinced that an infinite regress is not only physically impossible, it's philosophically impossible.
Could you elaborate on that then?
I mean, I guess there could be a concept of eternality or let me just stick with the physical.
Aren't you inherently arguing for an actually no. I'm trying to
Well, you maybe could say I'm inherently arguing for a lack of the existence of God, but of course I believe God exists outside of time, matter, space, and energy, so therefore he is an eternal being that has always existed and always will exist. In a different dimension from our own. But
which you would have to be if time is part of creation, which is what the Bible tells us and what science is indicating, then the creator of time has to be
outside of
time.
Correct. Yes.
Which is what's that term? Yeah,
ex nihilo is from nothing.
Yeah, well, yeah. But basically, that's describing what the God of the Bible is the creator of everything, who exists outside of time, but who can come to be within time, because just like I can build a house, I am external to the house, but I can also go into the house.
Wait, let me. Okay.
Yes.
Did you agree or disagree that a physical regress is possible or impossible?
Physical?
Yes.
Like I said, I'm unaware of anything, so I'm leaning towards no.
Okay, because you're a materialist, right?
Correct.
We determined this previously.
Sure.
And you would only base your beliefs on things that are demonstrable through the senses or the scientific method, etc.
Correct.
Infinite regress would be impossible to prove, right?
To my understanding, yes.
I would argue evolution, too, by the way, is. But by given the fact that it takes millions of years and no one's ever observed it. I guess then, how isn't the question we're asking is how do you account for the existence of anything apart from God? I guess that's my question.
Elaborate your point. I'm failing to understand the point.
All right. Well, so our argument is that the existence of anything at all, given the fact that we can trace back to the existence of all things, back to this infinitely, not literally infinitely, but magnificently, hot, dense, powerful moment that we call pejoratively or figuratively or whatever the Big Bang. Given that, we're just asking a very simple question. How did that thing begin? How did that process begin? What got that there?
Especially since the creation of that, or the appearance of that, breaks the first law of thermo, so it would be self-contradictory. Wouldn't that have to be a miracle for that to have occurred?
Okay.
Now, as one who's not a materialist, I have an easy answer, because I'm a supernaturalist, right? I'm a super materialist.
Okay.
But you're a materialist, so you're actually stuck with what I would say are only absurd positions. You're stuck with something you can't prove as a material. You're stuck with a physical infinite regress, turtles all the way down, infinite, contraction, expansion of the universe, which actually is impossible given entropy. I mean, there's no accounting for it. I mean, here's my main point. People want to say that Christians are dumb, they're gullible, they believe things they can't prove, they believe in sky daddy fairies and spaghetti monsters or whatever the heck. But on the core issue, the atheist cannot account for the creation of anything at all. We've argued more about you can't account for logic or morals, objective. But even on creation, how does the atheist account for it? Who is an atheist I could listen to on YouTube or a book I could read where they say, here?
Okay. I'm taking mental notes, and I'm trying my best to break down each argument that you did. Okay.
And probably when you do the looking on that, you'll come across
Lawrence Krauss, A Universe from Nothing.
Lawrence Krauss, Universe from Nothing. But the problem that there's a fallacy in his argument because he's actually.
Well, explain what he
he's actually
teaches.
arguing that there really is something still there. So that's the short answer of his. But
Have you ever heard of Lawrence Krauss?
I haven't.
He's a avid spokesman for the atheist position. Who's a physics professor over in I think it's Arizona.
Yeah, he was at Arizona State. I think he got Me Too'd. So I'm not sure if he's still
really?
around.
Oh, that sucks.
Back in the
That
well,
sucks.
maybe
Well,
not.
I don't know. I mean, I hope he didn't actually assault somebody. So. Anyway.
Okay, he's an astrophysicist. He's debated like William Lane Craig on this issue, and he wrote a book called A Universe from Nothing.
Right.
And our argument as Christians is that when he uses the word nothing, he is loading something into it. When you talk about, in fact, this was Sasha and I's argument, right? When you say nothing, you mean nothing. No thing. Not vacuums, not physical laws, not gravity, certainly not time, not space, not matter, nothing. Nothing. When we say nothing, we mean nothing. When he says nothing, he means all those things. Scientific laws, scientific properties, vacuums, intense gravity, etc. See what I'm saying? So all we're saying is check him out, read his book. We're not, we think that the best guy on earth, Sean Carroll's probably the best. We believe that they have argued with Christians to account for the creation of the universe from nothing, and we think they fall flat. That's all we're saying.
Yeah. And then not only that, but then how does the Bible get the development, Genesis 1, get the development of the earth, the sequence of the development of the earth correct, which it does. That is what really blew my mind when I first started finding out this evidence stuff. And it's like, how in the world does the Bible get the development of the earth correct? And it does. Which is, because if you read it without understanding it, it's hard to put it all, you think it's crazy, but when you find out the sequence of the development, and that, it took the sun, moon, and it took photosynthesis to clear the air so the sun, moon, and stars could be seen, which is the weirdest thing of all if you ever read Genesis 1. And then you find out that it got it right. It's just amazing. So that gives me a reason to say, okay, God, help me out, explain to me what's going on, help me know you. You're obviously you, I'm me. Please put me in the spot in this life that you want me to be. And
what questions do you have for us?
Yeah, I was about to say, are we at minute 3 of straight talking without me getting involved?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, I love taking mental notes because then I forget them.
You can watch it later.
I can, actually, yes. And then I can point out all the ways in which I could have argued my point better. Okay.
Let me just say this. Okay. All I'm trying to demonstrate to you is, because I don't think you can prove the existence of God. In the sense that I think it's irrational to believe that God could not exist, okay? But all we're trying to say is that it's not like Christians are like flabbergasted that there's this theory of an infinite regress. Oh, really? There are people who think the universe came from nothing? We're well aware of that. We study the issue. We've written our own books about it. It's nothing about that is shocking to us. That's all I'm really positing. Okay. I have homework to do. We all have kind of homework to do to keep learning, but that's all. Okay. I'll shut up now.
I lost my point. Big brain. All right. Okay. From my understanding, the way that we have come to understand the Big Bang Theory is that we have taken a snapshot of the background radiation, which we are still able to read,
Yep.
and we've written it all the way back to a point in which our understanding of physics breaks down.
Correct. That's a good way of putting it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, is it not possible that there is something beyond that point that we just cannot?
And that's a good question. That's absolutely, because the question becomes, it either had a beginning or creation from nothing, or it didn't. And all I can tell you, and I can point you to some directions, is that there have been multiple scenarios, hypotheses, whatever you want to call them, proposed for how the universe could have existed like that.
May I jump in here?
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to the infinite regress thing,
Yeah.
you were saying that, or at least I heard one of you say that because of entropy, an infinite regress is impossible because eventually the universe would break down so much that it would be impossible to continue, I guess, the universe as it currently functions, correct?
Well, two things. Yes, in that direction, but then also if the universe was eternal because of entropy, if it had been eternal, we shouldn't even be here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I see. Okay.
So it hits
That's
you,
the philosophical problem of the infinite
so it
regress.
hits you on both. Entropy hits you on both ends. It hits you at the beginning, and it also hits you at the why are we here? Because entropy should have caused it all to run down.
Okay. What? Okay, I want you to. Okay, so you're an engineer by trade.
Sure.
Yes? Okay. What happens during entropy? Could you explain that?
I can tell you where the idea of it came from. Okay. The idea when they were improving the steam engine, all right, back in the 1800s, they basically figure out, okay, I got so many BTUs, they call them BTU, going into the steam to then, how many BTUs worth of work can I get out? Okay, and that ends up being called, BTUs in the form of heat versus BTUs out in the form of work. Ended up becoming the quote thermal efficiency. Okay, and there's always you can never get to 100% conversion. Okay, and the difference was attributed to this thing called entropy, which is invisible. We don't, but basically what it's ultimately saying is that energy systems all run down, they decay, they go from a high state of energy to a low state of energy over time.
Okay.
And so it's not just engines, but it's also what they see going on in the universe.
Okay. But taking into account the first law of thermodynamics, which is that matter and energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
Right.
What happens to that energy? Right? Because you should still have that energy somewhere. The
the energy is not converted all the way to work. But then you look at the waste heat which goes out. Mm-hmm. Okay. And yes, you can do a thermal balance on it so that the energy that comes in the form of heat, some of it gets converted into work, and then the rest of it goes out as waste heat that is no longer usable. And that just basically, ultimately, it ends up dissipating into the atmosphere, which then dissipates out into outer space.
Okay, wonderful. So what happens is that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it is merely dissipated due to entropy.
Correct.
Okay. So, following that logic to its extreme, couldn't one say that, I guess, near the end of the universe, or whatever you would like to call it, energy could have dissipated so much that there is no interaction until suddenly there is? In which case...
that's exactly where they're going to. I mean, that's... So why aren't we at that point already? If the universe was eternal, why aren't we already at that dissipated point? Because that's exactly what...
Well, that's my argument.
What the physicists are saying, that's the point that we'll get to. Not with the bang, but with the fizzle, basically.
And philosophically, why are we even here today?
Why are we still here?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm leading up to. This is my argument in favor of an infinite regress.
A what?
Right? Because...
Okay, regress means it all goes back and bounces back and does it over. It's sort of like a rubber band.
Yes.
It just keeps going back and forth.
Correct. So what I'm arguing for is that... Okay. So there's very limited understanding of the concept of dark energy. So from my understanding, it is the invisible force which is expanding the universe, correct?
Yes. Yes, and dark energy is really weird.
Yes, I know. We don't know much about it. I don't even less about it.
It's okay. The idea of dark energy, and I'm just trying to make sure we're on the same page, is simply it's different from the energy that we experience in forms of BTUs.
Right, correct. It is not comparable to like matter and energy that we're
typically getting. It is something that is in space that is causing space to continue to expand faster and faster and faster. Basically, It has overcome the inherent gravity of all the masses and stuff, and it's now pushing everything further and further away, so we will end up with a big fizzle instead of a big crunch.
Correct.
Is what the scientists are saying, physicists, astrophysicists are saying.
Right. So, I forget the name for it. What is the energy or material that that counteracts dark energy? Do you remember that? I can look it up if not.
I'm gonna be honest. When I do these talks, I don't talk about things I don't understand or I don't speculate.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, but let's stay with let's stay with the whole.
What's that?
Universe from nothing, and does that mean that there has to be?
I'm gonna let you guys talk, and I'm gonna go over here.
Okay.
Well, no, because my argument is essentially trying to argue in favor of a universal infinite regress, right? Because if there is an energy counteracting dark energy,
Right.
then eventually you could take all the energy that has gone through entropy and that is no longer making up matter, and eventually regress it back into a universe.
And I understand what you're saying. And basically what you're getting at is the, again, I can point you towards some websites where you can actually see it. All right, okay. There are proposals, hypotheses, whatever you want to call them, to how does the singularity stay at a singularity, without. And unfortunately, for the pros and cons, and I'm not going to say that I'm a physicist who's qualified and all that stuff.
Oh, me neither. I have no idea what the hell.
But basically, my understanding of the pushback between the two is that ultimately entropy is the problem. Once there is time, once time has begun, entropy has begun. And if entropy has begun, then the universe is going to decay somehow, even if it's at a singularity or whatnot. So the whole thing of it staying.
Well, no, because what you just said, right? Even if it's at a singularity,
right.
But at the singularity, it would be a infinitely dense point in which all of the energy in the universe is concentrated at, right? I don't know about you,
correct. But the challenge, the reason why the physicists, say it basically comes from nothing. Ultimately, it's a division by zero in their math. Is what happens. It's a division by zero, and now infinite regress. Let me make sure I'm on the same page as you. When you're saying infinite, you're talking about we expand and then go back, expand and go back.
Pretty much. Yes.
Okay. Entropy is the problem with that. It's just the rubber band thing doesn't work due to entropy. And again, I can point you towards places that have people that have done that. There's people who will still argue like you're talking about, but then the pushback is that entropy, it's the same reason why a ball doesn't bounce up all the way as high as it was. Blah, and it's just
there's a certain amount of kinetic energy that was transferred.
You're gonna lose some energy in the bounce basically. Mm-hmm. But then they've also since found out that because of dark energy, the universe is actually going to keep expanding, and it's not ever going to do a rebound and whatnot. So the whole thing of a universal bounce back isn't going to happen, according to the scientists, because of dark energy.
Mm-hmm. I remember hearing about the theory of the Big Crunch, but I can't, for the life of me, remember the properly articulated argument.
It was the Big Crunch prior to. I don't know. Well, sometime in either the 90s or the early 2000s is when the astrophysicists, astronomers, basically, were able to do, because that was the question. I mean, is the universe going to keep expanding, or is it going to do a big crunch? For a long time, most everybody thought, well, you have this quote, thought of it as this. We still have a hard time not thinking of it as an explosion, because that's what we're so used to.
It's a rapid expansion.
Rapid expansion. But then we thought, well, and then gravity's going to take over and it's all going to go back together again. Okay? That's what, really up until probably either the 90s or the aughts or early 2000s, that's what everybody thought. I mean, because we didn't know any better. But then they did, I can still remember being in my car and hearing it on the radio where they said, these two groups had done the measurements, and they both concluded that the universe was actually picking up speed in its expansion, and so the idea of the Big Crunch basically died at that moment, and that, oh wow, we're just going to go out with a big fizzle and whatnot. So the infinite regress falls apart because they're already showing that it's not going to it's not going to come back again.
Wonderful. Okay. I'll be completely honest about this. Like I said, my interest lies in political science.
Sure.
I am the equivalent of a politician talking about science. I have no idea what I'm yapping about.
No, but you're yapping though. No, that's good. That's good. No, and it's awesome that you're open to talking about it and asking questions, because ultimately the law, like you said, it's based on principle. It's going to be based on principles, what people decide is the law. But it is also, like in criminal law, it's going to be based on what does the evidence say. And what's fascinating, criminal law, they do all the crime scene forensics and all that stuff, and even if there's nobody there to see it, you can, through fingerprints, through DNA, through all kinds of crime scene stuff, blood, they can determine who was there and who did what and stuff like that. And this evidence for the cosmic creation event or the Big Bang is achieved through similar means. Basically, they, been able to take that little oval-looking picture that I'm sure you've seen. It looks like a speckled egg.
Yes.
And that's the earliest cosmic picture of the cosmic background radiation.
Correct.
And then some really smart people have done the math, and it's just math, beyond that, and they end up with this division by zero, which says, oh shit, it goes to nothing, it goes, and so, and so you have scientists basically saying, we've been studying this stuff for so long, and then at the end of the line, we come to the mountaintop and we find that a bunch of theologians have been there the whole time, because it's literally only the Bible that had claimed that the universe was created from nothing. We have the confessions from the Protestant, several Protestant groups in the 1600s, all saying the term, Bible says that the universe was created from nothing. St. Augustine in the 300s, in his books, writes that the universe was created from, that they think the universe, the Bible says the universe was created from nothing. And it's really one of the most ridiculous things of all to think that the universe was created from nothing, but yet it really was, because it does break the first law of thermodynamics. And how do you do that without a creator God? And that's really the foundational evidence that we have to say, you can live your life, live your life how you want, but there really is a God, and there really is the God of the Bible. And we can point to these primary things that are like crime scene evidence to answer the question for us.
Well, now I only have a couple of minutes left, but I will get 2 more points in before I have to go.
Please do.
So, in the English translation of the Bible, we have, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Correct. That's about the first 9 billion years of creation.
Right. So,
of the universe.
Where exactly in it does it imply that God was inherently outside of the universe? Couldn't one argue that God is an aspect of the universe itself, that when the universe began, God acted as a architect within the universe?
I understand what you're saying, and it's a philosophical. I'm going to say it's a philosophical argument, but I don't know for sure. But basically, if you had a magic wand and you're able to, like Harry Potter, just boom, create something, okay? Right. You have to, by definition, be quote external to it to have made it. Does that make sense? It's almost like a definition thing.
Right, but I guess following your argument, right, you are still, so to say, in the same room, right? You are still in the same plane of existence.
What the Bible is saying is basically, before all of this, there's basically God and whatever His presence encompasses. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. But basically, for some reason. And that's a whole other conversation. God decided He wanted to create something in addition to Himself, basically. Okay.
I think that's
and He ended up creating this universe, and so because He created this, this is, I don't want to call it, He's external to it. He was originally external to it, but sort of like a house that He can still come in and out of the universe, out of our world as He pleases, because He's the creator.
I guess.
Does that make any sense? It's a good question, by the way.
It does.
It's a very good question.
But I guess what I'm arguing for is a different definition of what the Bible means by heavens and the earth, right? When you say heavens and the earth, you're interpreting it as the entirety of the universe. Yeah, because in which case it would have to be in the same system as the universe or equal to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're arguing for is what's called pantheism. Okay, well, pantheism means all the universe, everything in the universe is part of God, or whatnot. And maybe I don't know. But when it says created the heavens and the earth, I mean, that is including space and time, which is, again, bizarre. But so for that have to be part of creation, God by definition has to be external to that before it was all made.
Mm-hmm.
And so but like I said, that's not saying that God can't then come into just like coming to a house or a building. He can still come in and out as much as he wants to.
Okay, now I found a way to articulate it.
Okay.
Our difference is what we're interpreting as the room God can come in and out of, right? So you're interpreting existence as the room God can come in and out of, and God can come into the room of existence and create the universe, right? Would that be right? Because that's what you're arguing, that God is external to the universe and is thereby creating.
God's existence is external to this universe.
Right. Okay. That's what I'm understanding. Right. My argument would be that the room is the universe, and then God comes into the room and then acts upon it. Actually, no. Yeah. I feel like I just misarticulated my point.
No. I understand what you're trying to say, but basically, you're trying to say that space and time, had always existed, but then the matter and energy was then created. Is that basically it?
I guess that's the most accurate way we could interpret that. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I'm doing a very good job of trying to.
No. I'm glad you are. I'm very glad that you are. Okay.
I'm making the effort.
No, you're making the effort. No, these are deep things to think through. These are and for a 16-year-old young man. Good for you. Good for you. You could. Obviously, you can argue for anything. Okay, if you're a lawyer, you can argue for anything. But what the Hebrew words seem to mean, okay, when they say heavens and the earth, they're going to mean stars and space and all the distances between everything. And so, biblical narrative is going to include stars and space and time as part of the creation. Now but then from a science point of view, the expansion of the universe, etc. It all goes down to that divide by zero thing, and that is also claiming the reason why science is also claiming that time had a beginning is because space and time.
I am so sorry, but I can't help but overhear the word satanic and neo-Nazi from across, and that just drew my attention.
Okay, okay, you've probably seen the movie Interstellar.
I haven't. No.
There's a movie called Interstellar. Basically, the thing is that space and time are somehow connected to each other.
Correct.
The faster you go, faster your velocity.
The faster you travel through space, the slower time.
So somehow, someway, and that is so bizarre that somehow space and time are connected together. And so what that division by zero thing is going to is that when there is no space, there is no time. And so that's why even science is tying the two together and saying, when it gets down to that that 0 point, divide by 0 point, not only is space not there, time's not there, because those two are somehow tied together.
Yes.
I'm not going to pretend I understand that, okay? But that's what it's saying, which is bizarre. But that's how, what science has figured out, and then what the Bible is saying, coincide to each other, and then you still have the problem of the first, thermal. So it's the Bible is claiming creation of the universe was done by a miraculous work of God. God spoke it into existence. Okay, and we have very strong theories, math or whatever, that says the universe just popped into, it started from a singularity and grew into what it is now. Okay, and so what we as Christians are saying is that those two are the same events. And that therefore we can have a foundational point of evidence to point to and say it's not irrational for me to believe that there is a creator God, because the universe came into existence from nothing. And then, oh, by the way, it got the sequence of the development of the earth correct. It took millions and billions of years to do it, but it got the sequence correct. Okay. So not only is there God, it's also the God of the Bible. And so what does the Bible say about our condition and, our situation with God? And what's, is there anything that needs to be addressed or anything like that? And that's really what it's all saying. And so it's, to me, it's all been fascinating. And like I said, to me, it all started from watching the stupid History Channel. It started from watching the frickin' History Channel. It's like I'm watching this documentary. It's like what they're showing is the same sequence as Genesis 1. It's like, how does that happen? How does that happen? How does the Bible get this right? Because it's such a bizarre thing to say the world was covered in water, and then the land rose from it, and then photosynthesis got going, and the air cleared, and then you had sea creatures, and the birds are what survived the extinction event of the dinosaurs, and mammals, and then, it's like, how did the Bible get that right? It's like, okay, maybe there is a God, maybe it is the God of the Bible. And I don't have to depend upon my life's circumstances to give me assurance, or I don't have to be in a desperate need situation to say, God, I need help, my life sucks. When I was a kid, it's like, okay, God, I need some help. I'm messed up, I need help, okay, which is fine. But we don't have to be in that point to rationally and spiritually realize that, man, there really is a God, and not only that, but there is an eternity at stake for each of us, and that's really what he's saying, and that God wants us to be with him, but we have this problem of sin. And it's just a matter of, all it really is just, God, you're God, I'm not. Lead me, guide me, help me know my relationship to you, help me know my place to you, and it sort of goes from there. We don't and you're going to go through life, and not everything's going to go great. That's the other thing the Bible tells us, is that there is evil in the world. But God will carry us through things, and he will help us wind our way, figure our ways around it and get away from it, etc. Because he does love us, right. But he also wants us to appreciate what we have with God when we're in heaven, and so we end up having to go through some difficulties. So we understand that, okay, this is a great place, it's beautiful and everything, but when I'm with God, I don't want to, I want to be with God. And if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Again, I have very little knowledge of the metaphysical, and sure. Even then, like you said, I'm not an astrophysicist. I don't know what right. I'm yapping about as well. I again specialize in politics. I'm more well versed in that kind of aspect of and different interpretations of the Bible.
Sure.
I'm not well versed in the physical.
That's okay. Very few people are.
Yeah. I guess one of the main arguments that I've always wanted to make is that regardless of what you believe in like cultural aspects, right, like gay rights, abortion, regardless of all of that, if you call yourself a Christian, you should by extension also define yourself as politically as a socialist. If not in the cultural aspects, and at the very least in the economic aspects.
Sort of. Sort of. Okay. As far as all the other stuff, the Bible, God tries to tell, hey, there are landmines in life. Okay, and His quote commandments is not to keep us from having fun; it's to keep our life from being blown up in different things that are going to end up hurting us. Okay, and so what I would, that's just to sort of cover that ground. God's not trying to be a killjoy as far as having fun. He's trying to steer us away from things that are going to hurt us. Okay, killing people is not a good thing. Adultery is not a good thing. Coveting, wanting what somebody else has, is not a good thing. But the Bible says, do your work heartily as unto the Lord. So we're all, and when God first placed Adam in the garden, part of his job, before he sinned, was to work. I mean, you as a man, me as a man, part of our calling in life is to work and be productive, to be fruitful and multiply, to produce good things. Some people are better at producing valuable stuff, services, assets, whatever, than others. That's okay. Okay. If God blesses us with a material, with a meaningful amount of wealth, then and a lot of Christians do this. it is very beneficial and good for our own well-being to charitably give and to be involved with outreach to homeless people, outreach to all kinds of people. Should that be done through a governmental organization as opposed to churches or on an individual basis? Okay. When I was young, I thought that was probably okay, but now that I'm older, it coming through the government, basically government charity or government mandated charity, okay, is really what welfare and food stamps and all that is. It's government mandated charity stuff.
Well, even then, I have a bit of a weird relationship with food stamps because functionally, what the food stamp program is, it's subsidies to farmers, right? It's the government saying,
well, no, it's not. Well, believe me, the government has been, well, long before food stamps, the government was subsidizing farmers.
Yeah, but
that all started back in the 30s. Okay. So
yeah, it's insane.
You know, you don't have to do food stamps food stamps is not about subsidizing farmers. There's lots of stuff beyond that. Okay. There's lots more checks that go to the farmers than that from the government. And so, again, it's who is God? Is the government God or is God God? And
well, I'm not saying that like the government will have the final say. But if you want to argue that, let's take for example this church, right? I'm aware that this church has like a couple different programs, right? They have a public kitchen. They have, I'm assuming they have homeless reach out programs as well, right?
I would think so. I mean, there's one of his homeless buddies sitting here earlier with us.
Right. So.
James, yeah. I mean, formerly homeless. Yeah.
Yes. So the church engages in outreach in adherence to the teachings of God, right?
Correct.
And in my opinion, or no, let me rephrase that. From my understanding, you would like to live in, I'm assuming, a godly country, correct?
Yes.
Right? So,
I don't want people killing each other.
Right, that tends to be a good thing.
It tends to be a very good thing, right?
So I fail to see what is wrong with wanting the actions of the government as well to be godly, right? Why can't the government, at the very least, again, in the economical sense...
And I get what you're saying. And on the surface, it seems very reasonable because, and I'll give you a prime example. In the Depression, in the 1930s, okay, there were so many people, 25% unemployment, okay, and a lot of jobs that didn't pay much. I mean, it was devastating, absolutely devastating. And that's when the first dole welfare started coming about. And it was traditionally the church and whole families have been the institutions that have helped people that are destitute and whatnot. But the problem that I've seen, and this is me being 60 years, is that unfortunately, because it comes from the government with, quote, no strings attached, no calling to grow your capacity to take care of yourself and to take care of others. Okay, it's just, hey, we're going to send you a check and you can do whatever you want. Because it ends up being that way, we have created a whole system of dependency, and unfortunately, bad morals in a lot of ways. Okay.
Well, I guess.
So
before you continue,
the fruit of the system has not been what was anticipated. That's really all I'm saying.
Right. Okay. But before we continue, in that case, how is the government doing that again with like no strings attached? Any different from what the church is doing, right? Right? Because the church.
No, because I'm going to say, okay, I've been on I'm a deacon board at my church, okay, and we have what's called the Deacons Fund, okay, and we have members of the church and even outside the church who will come and ask for money to help pay a bill, a car repair, a light bill, a rent, something like that, and we will typically pay that, but we want to know that there is a plan in place, or at least an effort in place, so that this isn't a long-term, you're just going to be on the church dole. And believe it or not, we actually do have a couple people who are debilitated. They're just not all there, who we actually do provide money to on a regular basis and whatnot.
Yes, and in those examples, I would understand.
What I'm saying is that when the church is doing it, there is a conversation, a loving conversation, that takes place to how can we help you not have to have this need continually anymore. Let's help you get a job. Let's help you, get transportation to a job. Let's get you on your feet.
Exactly.
So you can you're not totally dependent on us.
Exactly. So why don't we do the exact same thing with government, right? For example, right now you brought up transportation. Houston transportation is garbage.
Right. Well,
it could be. There is so much that is left to be improved, and
and again, this gets into this is definitely just becomes political. I mean, not political, but ideally it would be. The practicality, though, is it just doesn't happen.
Well, in that case, what are the practical issues of it?
Well, the practical issues of just sending checks to people is that there is no conversation that takes place like it does.
Again, this is under the assumption that all that is happening is checks. What I am suggesting is that under this socialist system, it would involve an actual interaction with the person, right? We would have,
and it should, but invariably it just doesn't help or do anything. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Ideally, yes. I mean, this is the benefit of being young. Okay, this is absolutely the benefit and beauty of being young, is that you're saying, why can't this be solved through government social workers talking to the people and encouraging them, and they do. Hey, you're supposed to be looking for work. I mean, the government goes back and forth on whether or not looking for work should be a requirement for receiving a check. Okay, that has gone back and forth several times in the last 30 years. So it gets into the, how much accountability, how much responsibility do we require from people who need assistance. Okay, and that is an ongoing debate, and it always will be. And but and again, that's the benefit and beauty of being young, like you are, that you're thinking of those things. Like, why can't we do it this way instead of that way? And here I am saying, man, people have, for whatever reason, we've been trying it that way for a really long time, and it just hasn't produced the results that were promoted as far as why we should be doing it. It's been starting, from the war on poverty that LBJ started back in the 60s. Basically, that's where all this social stuff came from. And it was admirable. It was good intent. Good intent.
I would argue that it started with.
It started in a Roosevelt, but it really kicked off with LBJ. I mean, the real stuff really kicked off then. FDR got Social Security started, and a little bit of the dole, but in the 60s is when the whole war on poverty, was attempted. And so it's just, it's a tough deal, but it's, people need, people go through hard times, and there's what I've come to realize is people have deficiencies in their emotional system, in their spiritual system, and whatnot. They have a hard time being reliable to go to work. Sometimes they have a hard time doing this or doing that, and it's a spiritual problem. It's an emotional problem, as much as anything else, which creates their financial problems. And so that's a sad reality, but it is. But that's where churches are trying to help put an arm around somebody. Let me pray with you. Let me help read these parts of the Bible. It will help pick you up and change your mind. It will get your mind right. And God comes into somebody's life and does amazing things in people's life. He really does. And God allows people to go through difficult times because it's His way of trying to get a hold of somebody to say, hey, you need me. Call out my name and ask me for help, and I will help.
I do apologize.
Anyway, I do have to go.
Right?